Quotations from myself, segment 48, quotation number 593. How strange it is that when I was young and had literally my entire life ahead of me, I was willing so often and so carelessly to risk it all for the most trifling reasons. Yet now, when I am old and not too much of my life is left, and certainly not the best part of it, why did I become so cautious and fearful? Why do I cling so tenaciously to these threadbare remnants of my former self? 594. The problem with being flexible and going with the flow is that one has neither knowledge of nor control over the final destination. In addition, as one is constantly trying to adapt to the way of the world to make one's life easier, there is always a risk of being gradually and insensibly corrupted in such a process of adaptation to the world, which is essentially corrupt and probably was made this way by numerous reciprocal adaptations. That is why even those who pride themselves the most on being worldly wise can never get rid of the gnawing doubts whether they are that smart after all. Let me repeat. That is why even those who pride themselves the most on being worldly wise can never get rid of the gnawing doubts whether they are that smart after all. On the other hand, the problem with being true to oneself, inflexible, uncompromising, and, as inevitable results, a rebel and a fighter, is that one doesn't know how much one can take before breaking down, or has to take in order to succeed, and whether, considering the possibility of both outcomes, the latter will happen before the former. And so, even under the best scenario, each of these opposite characters could be equally surprised and terribly disappointed if after seemingly winning so many little battles, either by adapting or by fighting according to their respective inclination, both finally lose the war and end up as failures. It is clear, therefore, that neither of these two contrasting types of behavior can guarantee its respective practitioners the desirable results. And that is why the answer to the question, which one, even from purely pragmatical point of view, is preferable, remains uncertain. What is certain, however, is that no one can presume to be smarter than life, or, as the ancient Greek call it, fate. (595) For a woman who doesn't want to be married to her father, the only alternative is to be married to her son. For a man who doesn't want to be married to his mother, the only alternative is to marry to his daughter. The choice is always between either being controlled and, as a consolation prize, to be more or less tacitly allowed to relinquish most of the usual responsibilities which come with a marriage, or to control and, as a prize, to assume the greatest proportion of them. Unfortunately, the golden mean of the equal sharing both of power and responsibility in marital relationship is an attainable utopia. 596. A national character reveals itself, among the other themes, also in a national religion, which signifies, however, not what a nation possesses, but to the contrary, what it lacks both in spirituality and in morals. (597) Everyone is different from anybody else, not only in how one looks, which is the most obvious, but what is more important, in how one feels, thinks, what one likes or dislikes, etc., etc., etc. And since what we are is indisputably our nature, the nature of everyone is somewhat, to a greater or lesser degree, different from all the rest. And there is no such thing as one general human nature, unless, of course, it's taken in a very abstracted from all the individual peculiarities way. In reality, there are only numerous particular natures. There are only numerous particular natures. Therefore, to act according to nature, as Stoics enjoin us, can only be effected in a real life through an act in accordance with individual nature of each person, which everybody does anyway, without conscious effort on his or her part. For it is as natural for a thief to take as for a benefactor to give, for a profligate to waste, as for a thrifty to save, and so on and so forth. Again, to act according to one's respective natures, and there are no others, is the most natural thing for any individual to do. So what Stoics are actually asking people to do, either without admitting or without realizing it, is to behave unnaturally for them and to follow some artificially constructed uniform way of life. Though, for the sake of fairness, it has to be acknowledged the Stoics themselves, in a rare moment of self-doubt, or even the most dogmatic philosophers, unlike the religious thinker, have such moments, rarely confess the virtual impossibility of it. (598) There was a tendency among the ancient Greek philosophers, which was lately appropriated, imitated by the Christian theologians for their own purpose, to relentlessly use and abuse the meaning, the connotation, and the ambiguities inherent in the term perfect, and such synonymic permutation thereof as complete, superior, noble, highest, etc. Plato, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, to name just a few, and the most illustrious practitioner, either without realizing or conveniently forgetting that any superlative in the infinitely complex and forever changing world represent a highly abstract notion of a limit that could never be reached, had widely and indiscriminately used those terms as one of the most crucial points of departure in their numerous proof of what could not and should not ever have been tried to be proven. 601. The art of conversation consists in the ability to say as much as necessary, in as few words as possible, to be fully understood, and thus allowing the others the opportunity and time to do exactly the same. 602. Women dress up to stand out, men to blend in. A woman wants to be noticed and chosen among many. It means success. A man is afraid to attract attention and to be singled out. It means danger. 603. The older one grows, the harder it gets to carry the cross of unknown insignificance and obscurity. 604. A lot of what is considered self-evident now were not apparently so evident 2,000 years ago. And some of what is not self-evident today will almost definitely be viewed as obvious 2,000 years from now. For what is accepted as self-evident at any particular moment in time is defined by the contemporaneous state of consciousness, which in itself is a product of collective accumulated and widely assimilated totality of knowledge up to that moment.